It's finally Judgment Day. I think I've had this knife long enough to do pretty much a comprehensive review on it. I think I've worked out exactly what the Mora Garberg is and whether or not you should buy it. Mora Garberg, the first full Tang Mora. That means it goes from there with one piece of steel all the way to there. Same piece. There is a bit of a hole drilled out, which I'm not sure if that's particularly good or bad, but it's kind of a big deal, I guess, for Mora, at any rate. This is what a normal Mora would be like. Sharp Scandinavian sort of clip-tip knife, tang ending about there in a rubberized handle. Classic bushcrafting knives, and by bushcrafting I'm thinking more light fire prep, wood carving, building camp utensils. So what's the big deal about a full Tang Mora knife? Well, I guess the big deal is that people have been asking for one, according to Mora. Not like there's been a shortage of full Tang knives. Go a strong arm, LT right Genesis, Falcon F1. In fact, most outdoor knives are full Tang. Mora, more of a traditional company, I guess, hesitant for some reason. It's finally bowed to what you'd probably argue is Western pressure and gone and made one. So what do you get for your Mora Garberg full Tang stainless steel knife? Well, you get a stainless steel blade. That is a 109mm 4.3 inch stainless steel blade made of 14C28N steel. If you're not familiar with that steel, it is the steel that Kershaw have been using in the Skyline series of knives. Usual Moras are made of 12C27, which, as you can probably tell by the lower numbers, is, I guess, a lower or less technical or less high-tech version of a similar steel. You also get a overall length of 229mm long, so by my math that means the handle is 4.7 inches long, or 110mm. It does seem about right. The blade thickness is 3.2mm thick. Let's look at that next to some other thick blades. Let's look at it next to the Falcon F1, the Gerber Strongarm, and just for a hilarious reference point, the Cold Steel Trailmaster. So you get an 8.5 ounce package, and it's got a sharpened spine as well, so there's quite an edge there, and that is for use with fire steels and fire strikers. Ba-ba! And it comes with a couple of sheath options, one being the multi-mount, which is the one I opted for, and the other being the leather sheath, which is about as traditional as you can get with a leather sheath. So overall, what are my thoughts on the Mora Garberg? Well, let's now I've got the facts over the line, let's get the good parts out of the way. So, this steel has performed very well. It's stropped back to life the couple of times I've used it, and I have used it a lot. So I use this knife for the guts of a walking stick finish. So I have a walking stick that I cut when I reviewed the Falcon F1. I did the A1, I did the basic shaping with the A1 and the basic bark removal, but I've done a lot of the stock removal, so to speak, on the walking stick with this knife here. And it is still, well, it's been sharpened, so it was still relatively sharp after, you know, a couple of hours of non-stop wood carving. So it's a good performing wood steel on wood. However, wood isn't particularly challenging on knife, so what I did do was cut some more standard materials with it. I cut some manila rope, and I cut some cardboard and some paper, and after that the edge was still a very comfortable working edge. Now what Mora have done with this is they've put a Scandinavian Grind on it, as you have with your Bushcraft Black here, or although this one comes similar, as it would come with a normal Mora companion, or this is a Light My Fire. The knife grind goes from where the flat bevel finishes straight to the edge. There's no secondary bevel, and it makes a very, very sharp carving edge. What they've done here is they've done that all the way to the edge, and then they've done another little V-notched bevel just for extra durability. And I think that's what they're really going with this knife. Durability is the name of their game here. And the blade, I must say, it is durable. And it's very, very good at carving. Despite having the micro bevel, it only carves slightly worse than my other Moras, and it carves better than most of my other knives. So it is a good carving blade. I think the length is something that, in terms of the overall knife design, could have been improved a little bit. I would have had it probably at least strong arm length. I think that makes it for a more all-round knife. Right now, to me, this still does just feel like a small carving knife. So it is something I probably would have extended if I was to design this knife myself. Now, my initial thoughts on this knife were critical of two things, the handle and the price. The price hasn't changed. I'm still critical of the price. These materials, as good as this steel is, aren't worth the $130 that Mora are asking. They're just simply not. It's thermo-run plastic with a blank tang that they stock reduce, and it is a bit of a joke. The sheath options, the leather sheath actually makes it more expensive, even though the thermo-run sheath has got more parts in it. So there you go. I'm not sure how that works. I guess the leather must be of relatively good quality. So the price hasn't changed. The handle, however, it's still not great, and it's still not the best handle I've ever had. It's still not as good as any of the other fixed blade handles, to be brutally honest, but I'm getting used to it. And I was thinking of running it with Wilson tape or something like that, but I thought to do the full review, I'll keep the knife as it comes from the factory. And I have, just kind of got used to it. It's still too hard, and it's still sort of lacks a bit of, I don't know, places to rest your hand or a bit of traction, perhaps. So you do find your hand sort of sliding around on it. When I sort of did just a few random tip stabs, your hand does slide down, and if you've got any sort of sweat or wetness on your hand, it's just slick. It's slick. You listen to that. It is slick, just plastic like you would make a lunchbox out of. So still not super impressed with the handle, but it has grown on me. My overall impression of this knife has improved the longer I've used it. However, it hasn't improved to the point where I would suggest spending 130 Australian dollars on it, or 100 US dollars on it, or anything like that. I would suggest for the price of this knife, given what else is available, given that Gerber sells a full tang blade in a US made, slightly lesser quality steel, like a cheaper, more widely produced steel, they sell this for 40 to 50 bucks. I would suggest this would be fairly priced at a US $70 price point, or perhaps, meaning an Australian $90 to $100 price point. So that would be, in my mind, a fair price. Other features of the knife, it's just got a lanyard hole there, and you've got a sort of a protruding tang / hammer pole there, which is still too thin to really be used as a hammer pole. So just more showing that the tang sticks out the back, I think, is the aim of the game there. So overall, and I've been interspersing this with footage of me using the knife. So after using it, I must say my impression has improved slightly. So it went from perhaps a C grade knife to a B grade knife, but it's still not quite there in terms of what I would be happy to pay for. If I was to design this knife, I would keep the handle the same shape. However, I would either cover it with a thermo-run type material, or I would raise these guards a little bit one way or the other. So I'd probably extend this guard down here, keep this one flat so you can put your thumb over the top. I'd probably have a nice rubberized sort of either the Gerber strong arm material or the Falkniven material, wherever that is, that one there, or even just the standard Mora material. And I would extend that blade just a little bit longer as well. They've pretty much just made a Mora that's got a full tang in it, and Moras as they are don't need full tangs because the widest bits of wood you split with them are that wide, and it's just not ever needed. I've never seen, we can barely see the Moras fail unless they're splitting really ridiculously hard wood. I mean, as I've done with this knife, I've split some really, really nasty redwood, Australian redwood, and there's nasty stuff, and it does it just fine because you're not going to be splitting anything that's too huge and dense. So if they really wanted to make a testable fixed blade knife where the fixed blade was, the full tang was actually worth paying the extra for, they would need to have just extended that blade a little bit longer, made it almost a a proper all-rounder knife, because what we've got now is really just a full Tang wood carving knife, which is, if that's a real draw for you, it still might be worth the price, but in my opinion, still not quite there. So that is my full review of the Mora Garberg full Tang bushcraft knife. So thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you later.